Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that is just so incredibly 21st century. It's about what happens when the digital world, clicks, views, followers, slams head-on into the very real, very physical world of land, neighbors, and a single dirt road.
So let me ask you this. What does happen when an online community suddenly has a physical home? It's a question that's becoming more and more real for a lot of people. When online fame isn't just on your screen, but it actually lives next door, how does that change things? Well, this story is one heck of a case study.
And this is where it all kicks off, in a Kenyan village called Nyabohanse. The first real sign of trouble wasn't some viral video or a nasty comment section. Nope, it was something you could touch and feel. A brand new fence blocking a road that everybody used. And that one act lit a fuse that would send ripples through the entire community.
Okay, so let's get into exactly what went down. In this first section, we're going to look at the specific events that sparked this whole community conflict. So to really get a grip on this, you gotta know who's who. The whole thing unfolds in Nyabohanse, a village in Kenya that happens to be home to two pretty big YouTubers, I Am Marwa and Dee Mwango. Their success has brought a lot of attention, including from a local guy, a critic named Gintu. And then you have the rest of the villagers, just kind of caught in the crossfire. And believe me, things escalated, and they escalated fast. First, a neighbor puts up a fence blocking this key road. That stops construction materials from getting to Dee Mwango's new build. But it's not just her problem. It stops deliveries for literally everyone who uses that road. Then the tension just boils over. Gintu, the critic, shows up at I Am Marwa's construction site, things get heated, and it ends with Gintu being arrested. A local argument suddenly has very, very real consequences.
But to really understand what's happening here, we need to zoom out. It's about more than just a fence or an arrest. So for this next section, let's look at what it actually means for a small, quiet village to suddenly be thrown into the global spotlight.
2. That's the number. 2 major YouTubers living in this one small village. That concentration of online fame in a traditional community, well, that's the key ingredient here. It's what turns Nyabohanse into this unique little pressure cooker for all these modern-day tensions.
And this kind of fame, it's a real double-edged sword. On one side, you have this incredible sense of pride, right? People are seeing their local culture, their home, being celebrated all over the world. But then there's the other side. That same success creates this very visible gap between the influencers' lives and the daily struggles of their neighbors. And that can bubble up as resentment.
So, okay, it started with a road. It looks like a simple neighborhood dispute. But it's so obviously about more than that. The real question is, what's going on underneath the surface? What are the deep, psychological forces that can turn a simple disagreement into this huge, community-wide drama?
And that brings us right to the heart of this explainer, the psychology of it all. We're about to decode the human behaviors that are really driving everything here, turning these tensions into actual physical conflict.
And at the core of it all is this thing called social comparison. Look, we all do it. You scroll through social media, you see someone's amazing vacation, and you can't help but compare it to your own life. Well, in Nyabohanse, the influencer's global success created this massive, very public, and maybe impossible new standard. Their progress is out there for everyone to see, and that can make other people feel like they're being left behind.
This is where we can really connect the dots. That road blockade, that wasn't just about a fence. Psychologically, it was someone trying to assert control, and it was fueled by resentment. And Gintu showing up on the construction site? That wasn't just trespassing, it was driven by envy, by this feeling that things were unfair. And all the rumors that started flying around? That's what happens when a whole community's anxiety needs somewhere to go. Every action was a symptom of something much deeper. All right, so now that we've kind of unpacked the psychology, let's zoom out one last time. Because this story, from this one village in Kenya, starts to feel less like an isolated incident and a lot more like a modern-day fable, with a lesson in it for all of us.
And what this story really shows us is what one analysis calls the complex interplay between digital influence and traditional rural dynamics. That's really it. We're seeing the friction that happens when the super-fast, individualistic world of online creators collides with the slower, more collective way of life in a community. That's the challenge.
And ultimately, this isn't just a story about Nyabohanse. It's a story that could be happening anywhere. This village is basically a perfect little microcosm of a huge global challenge. How do we actually merge our digital lives and our physical lives without creating these kinds of fractures?
So where do we go from here? This last part of our explainer isn't about pointing fingers. It's about finding a way forward. It's about how you start rebuilding bridges, both the digital ones and the physical ones.
So what's the solution? Well, experts suggest a few things. First, it starts with simple stuff, talking, creating local ways for people to have a dialogue and sort things out early. Second, you have to manage shared resources, like that road, with clear rules that everybody agrees on. Third, some responsibility falls on the influencers themselves to maybe share stories about the community's shared challenges, not just their own successes. And finally, it's about balancing the narrative, celebrating the community as a whole, not just its most famous residents.
And that leaves us with one big question to chew on. As our worlds get more and more connected and digital life bleeds into real life, who's actually responsible for paving that road ahead? Is it the influencers, the community, the tech platforms, or is it something all of us have to figure out together?